What's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to talk about Diablo Immortal and whether or not this game will continue to be something that a lot of people are continuously playing. I mean, for the most part, a lot of people out there have been moving on to try different games. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't be coming back, but with releases like Undecember, Torchlight, I want to talk about where those games place as well as where Diablo Immortal is placing, and the simple fact that this game just continues to bleed players, and we kind of need some sort of change unless we kind of want to ride this low player base count for the end of the game, or for whenever it does end, which will probably be in, months and months and months, if not years down the line, maybe when Diablo 4 launches. But just more of talking about the health of the game and maybe some things that could bring us back, because I do think that Diablo Immortal is probably in its most dire state since maybe before the major update. All right, so first off, just take a look at the Google Trends here. This is something that I do every, couple of days, just to get an idea on where Diablo Immortal is headed. You can see here in terms of web search, I've also put in Torchlight Infinite and Undecember in here. Just to note, these games are so small that they don't even have their own search term in their Google Trends. So if you type in, Undecember, it's not going to pop up with the game. Whereas if you type in Diablo Immortal, you're going to see a game. It says online game here. So we kind of have to rely on these search terms. And you can see here, even with the brand new launch of both of these games, they're not even reaching Diablo Immortal's player base at the current state, at least in terms of web search. Now, this doesn't mean that they have less players necessarily, but it is a good indicator considering web searching for Diablo Immortal is probably dropping down significantly, and the people who are playing it probably aren't even searching for some of the content at the moment, whereas people who are brand new starting out Torchlight or Undecember are probably searching for those games more at the current moment, which means that these games are tiny compared to Diablo Immortal. If I swap over to YouTube search, it'll probably show a different number. That's right. Diablo Immortal, Torchlight Infinite, Undecember are probably all the same right now, because obviously most people are not looking for Diablo Immortal content because they've kind of already gotten what they wanted out of the game. You can see Diablo Immortal has steadily been dropping. Around this time is when the new kind of patch notes came out, so you can see it bumped up a little bit. And then it dropped off quite a bit. Now it's at 7. It's at an all-time low in terms of YouTube search. In terms of web search, it's kind of been flatlining. So that is a decent state. Last time I did one of these videos, I believe it was around here when it was at a 9 or about a 10, which means that the game is continuing to bleed players. Now, one thing I want to note about these games, and this is kind of the same thing that I have an opinion about. Someone mentioned this. I tried Torchlight Infinite, and it was quite a revelation. It made me realize that Immortal is quite a good game, minus the monetization. And I actually agree. I think that the graphical style of Diablo Immortal, the movement, the ability, and how your abilities interact with the enemies, and despite all the bugs, I think that the game is way more polished than both Torchlight and Undecember. Now, that doesn't mean that I think these games are bad at all. I personally like Undecember more than Torchlight by far. I'm actually not a huge fan of Torchlight, not just because of the graphical style, but just because of the mechanics in the game. I think it's fun. It's just not as good as Diablo Immortal, in my opinion. I think Undecember has some unique mechanics that make it a little bit more interesting in some aspects, but I don't think that it comes close to Diablo in terms of overall quality of life, overall actually polish in terms of playing the game. The mechanics are a little bit more in depth and make me want to play Undecember a little bit more, but that doesn't mean that Undecember is a more polished game, in my opinion. And that's what I find a lot of people kind of sharing that opinion. Of course, you have a lot of people on the opposite side that say these games are absolutely the best games, and they're copium for the monetization models in Torchlight and both Torchlight and Undecember. Not to say that Diablo Immortal isn't terrible, which I've kind of mentioned that a ton. But all three of these games, in my opinion, are bad monetization models. So at this current moment, what do we do about Diablo Immortal? Because that's kind of what we're on the topic of. How do we kind of bring back players to this game? What do we do? Is it kind of at the point of no return? Are we just going to kind of decrease player base until Blizzard decides to just bring in new players, which may just be the strategy? And I want to share a few things that are kind of reaching this point even more so right now. First off, challenge rifts. I did 173. I just swapped to monk here, and I have no legendary items. I have like 4 essences or something like that. So I don't even have the ability to go through and actually kill these challenge rifts. I actually did 173 without any Paragon points in there. If I were to just load up 176 right now, I don't think I would be low combat rating, which means I could probably complete 200 not too far away. And in fact, most free-to-play players will probably be able to beat 200 within the next couple of weeks. I know I put out a video saying, oh, challenge rifts are capped, and people are saying this isn't a problem only for the whales. Hard disagree. This is a problem for any hard grinders of the game. If you've been playing since day one, we are going to reach the cap very, very soon. So it looks like I am lower than the combat rating. I'm at 677 of the enemies, and I'm at 6638 right now. So I am getting to the close to the point where I will probably be able to beat 200 maybe in the next couple weeks. Maybe for free-to-player players, it's will be like a month or so if you're completely free-to-play. Granted, I am not a super hardcore grinder in the last couple of weeks. You can see I have a green bar. That's because, one, I've had a lot of other projects to work on, and on top of that, I haven't had like an innate drive to use my free time to go ahead and play this game a ton. And the main reason is, well, for one, challenge rifts are almost over. Challenge rifts in of themselves are not an exciting piece of content. I'm not excited to jump into a challenge rift and kill a bunch of the same monsters over and over again just for the same 2 pieces of combat rating or whatever it is, which I could actually probably get a bunch from upgrading my gear. But on top of that, the same old content is the exact same thing we've been doing since the beginning of the game. Now, this is not necessarily a problem within just the game. Like, I don't think this is a problem that they can necessarily fix. I think that this game is an ARPG grinding game, and I think that farming open world is probably just going to be the nature of the game. But there is no way to progress your character. And I had a couple of discussions with people, and this is something that I feel like I'm repeating myself, and maybe I am, but I feel like I want to do this just because I want this game to succeed, obviously, and I feel like this is the best way to do it. That's the only way I know how. We can't progress our characters. And I've had talks with people that are really just kind of Blizzard defenders, saying that this game is a pay-to-win game. You just need to, wait it out. You just want to have everything right away. It's not about having everything right away. It's about logging in every day. And if you compare it to other pay-to-win games, let's use that pay-to-win kind of mentality. If we use that pay-to-win mentality, well, if you compare it to games, gacha games, which are by definition kind of that pay-to-win summoning idea, they're way more free-to-play friendly in terms of you're actually able to log in, and after a week, you're able to progress another stage of a dungeon. You're able to go and get some meaningful upgrades, actually feel stronger. In this game, it isn't like that at all. You level up, and it's time-gated. Even if you're whaling, you can't even progress at a reasonable pace. Oftentimes in other games, if you whale, you'll be able to progress faster. In this game, you whale, you instantly get your progression, and then you're done. You cannot progress anymore unless you decide to spend more money. There is no way to progress, literally no way to progress in terms of overall power because of how absolutely tiered the progression systems in this game are. If you have not spent money, you could still progress, but it will take weeks upon weeks to get literally tens of residents. We're not talking about a meaningful upgrade. We're talking about maybe 100 damage, right? That's not a crazy amount of power. And if you're spending like myself and you're already at the 3K resonance mark, I would have to basically play for a year to get an upgrade. We're talking about 100 residents. Obviously, that could be changed if I get really, really lucky in my legendary crests runs, but it's most likely not going to happen. Obviously, we're talking about statistical averages here, because if we base everything off the extremes, then it's not really a fair comparison. But that just cannot happen in a game where you're a grinding ARPG game. Now, you may have some players that are just like, oh, I don't really care about progressing. I just want to log in and kill some monsters. That's great. That is the people who are still playing the game, or people who are launching the game and downloading the game for the first time. Those are those players right now. The veteran players want to progress for the most part. And they are only in the game because their friends are still playing the game, which is completely fair. That is another aspect of the game. But if you want to keep or hold more players, or even hold your new players that are entering the game for the first time, you need some way for them to progress. And right now, that just can't happen, which is really, really just a fundamental flaw about Diablo Immortal. And if you compare it to a game like Undecember or Torchlight, which I don't think that those games will really hold a crazy amount of players either, maybe I'll be wrong, maybe the games will prove me wrong, but you can actually farm up some sort of progression and actually have it be meaningful in terms of it's not going to take you so long that you will literally be in a different stage of life by the time you're done with farming. We're talking about tens of years for Diablo Immortal. In these other games, it's not going to take you nearly that long to acquire some of the best things in the game. And I think that's a fundamental flaw in Diablo Immortal that needs to change. And at the end of the day, that's really all that needs to change. Yes, you can add new content. Yes, you can add new dungeons. Yes, you can do all this other stuff, but it's more of the same with the same problems. The dungeon drop rates are terrible. The fact that you can't progress is still bad. All of these things are still in the game and doesn't change any of the fundamental problems in the game. You may breathe some life into the game for a temporary moment, like the warband, which obviously that's super polarizing as well, but you will never actually fix any of the issues if you just add additional content. We need some fundamental changes to the game if we ought to keep players around. So that's something that I really push Blizzard to kind of think about and hopefully make some meaningful changes, because at the end of the day, there really isn't anything that we can do as players to keep anybody in the game. We have to rely on the developers. So we just hope that they make kind of the right decisions going forward, because that's all we can do, right? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I know that we're talking about Diablo Immortal and kind of things that, may be leading to the sort of downturn of the game. I think server merges, server transfers will bring some life back into the game and keep some players around for a little bit longer. But at the end of the day, I think we will end up in the same position as we always are without some fundamental changes in this game. And at the end of the day, I don't think Blizzard will make that anytime soon. All we can do is hope, and all I can do is maybe make a video like this to get their attention and really hopefully get some people involved in changing the game. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I will be continuing to play the game. I will be checking out as Undecember still, and I will be probably checking out these RuneScape Fresh Start servers. By the time this video drops, maybe I already have made a channel for it, and I might have already posted an announcement. So if you want to check out me making a Fresh Start RuneScape account with Darth, maybe you want to check out that channel or his channel for some content there. For those of you that watch this long, it'll be pretty exciting. I think that game is super fun, so maybe check it out if you have some time. Thank you for watching. Be sure to sub to the channel and like the video if you want more Diablo Immortal content, and I'll see you for the next time.